Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today we are jumping right into Road to Ranked. In the last episode, we used this really fun team featuring Colburberry, Bulky Articuno, Life Orb G-Max Blastoise, Thick Club Marowak, Weakness Palsy Venusaur, and AV Xurkitree. So, we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Credits to Jamie Boyt once again for the team. Details are in the description below, and as I mentioned, currently on vacation, but brought my recording stuff with me, so figured I'd make an episode or two when I had some downtime. First game of the day, and we lost the Glastrier yesterday. It was pretty scary, and so I kind of want revenge against it today. So, let's see. How do I want to approach this? Marowak Articuno is really interesting here. I mean, Grim for early screens is always valuable. Like, it's mainly Incineroar that we have to be very careful about. Okay, Blastoise actually is also pretty interesting. Actually very interesting. So I'm thinking Grim Blastoise. We definitely want Marowak in this game. And then I like Articuno, I think. Mainly because of the Colbur. So let's try this out. I think the idea here is Glastrier is probably the scariest thing. So I want to cover for Trick Room, but I don't want to max Marowak immediately. Because if you max Marowak immediately, you have to worry about Intimidates from the Incineroar, right? And the Intimidates add up very quickly. With Marowak, ideally, you want to just sweep in the 3 turns that you max with it. So it's going to be URshifu plus Glastrier. Okay. I mean, I think this is okay. It's a pretty free Reflect and Cannonade turn 1. Which I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like reflecting here. I guess the thing is that URshifu could obviously protect here. But even so, I feel like this is pretty worth it for us, so... Okay. I think turn 1... Actually, let's just double check. What are the major threats to Blastoise? URshifu switching into Fini definitely could make a lot of sense. I think I still like going for... Cannonade here. I don't know, actually, URshifu into Fini makes a lot of sense. Okay. I'm gonna Cannonade Glastrier then, actually. I don't think URshifu is that much of an offensive threat. Yeah, there's the switch out. It should be Fini coming in. Yep, okay. So the reason why this is okay is because now what I can do is I get Reflect up, and then the next turn I can go for Fake Tears plus another Cannonade into Glastrier. But Fini is obviously a very good counter into our Blastoise here. So, the reason I also didn't target URshifu there is like, URshifu isn't really threatening us that much right now. What I'm nervous about is Fini just Calm Minding a bunch on us right now, right? Especially because I didn't bring Xurkitree or Venusaur. So our best Fini answers are actually on the bench in this game, which maybe isn't super good for us. So we'll see how that plays out. Okay, they are gonna max the Glastrier, which I'm okay with. This first turn is also interesting, right? Do you go for Steel Spike on a Grimmsnarl? Do you Quake? Yeah, Fini is going to be a really big issue. I think our best approach is to just Fake Tears it a bunch and then use Articuno to handle it. Like, it won't do that much damage, but we also won't do that much damage to it in return, which is, like, the main downside. So I really wish I had Xurkitree in the back right now, but it's tough to bring Xurkitree when you know your opponent threatens with Trick Room. It's great damage on the Glastrier, honestly, yeah. The question is... Oh, that was a crit. Okay. Guess revenge for the crit from the opposing Glastrier yesterday. It's going to be Max Quake. Yeah, Fini is going to get boosted real quickly here. It's a Blastoise, though, so I don't mind that. We don't take that much. Life Dew could actually be really interesting in this game as well. So this next turn is interesting. I don't think we go for the... Actually, do we go for Fake Tears? Like, I'd rather set up Light Screen, I think. Because I don't, like, because that's clearly AV Glastrier, Fake Tears plus Cannonade isn't going to KO that anyway, right? Yeah. So, I like light screening here, and then going for another Cannonade. I think Fini just Calm Minds too much, though. And I needed Xurkitree or Venusaur to handle it, but both of those don't match up super well into Glastrier. So the good thing is I can get rid of the special defense boosts at least via the Fake Tears. But the downside is it's still going to get boosted offensively pretty quickly, right? And my opponent still has a bunch of support as well. So it was really smart to switch in Fini and Quake just to get a special defense boost. Like, I really, really like that play by my opponent. I think that was super smart. Okay, they go for Steel Spike here. That's fine. We should survive. Yeah. I think I got a Fake Tears Fini. The problem is it's getting so many defensive boosts here. That I think I honestly needed Xurkitree in this game just to deal with it. I didn't think Fini would be such a big threat in Team Preview, especially because we have Xurkitree and Venusaur, so job well done by my opponent to identify how good it could be here. I'm also wondering if Fake Tears into Cannonade gets the KO here. Because the thing is, if I don't Fake Tears Fini, this thing gets out of control too quickly, right? So I almost feel forced to. Just because otherwise, how am I going to do damage into this thing at all in the late game? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to Fake Tears and Cannonade Glastrier. But I really like how my opponent played this game. Because I think, like, the idea of using your max often is just tied to, like, doing offensive damage, right? But in this game, it was the idea of using Glastrier to boost Fini up and set it up. Now, the strategy is not exactly, like, foolproof, especially because my opponent hasn't confirmed all of my Pokemon, right? So if I had Xurkitree or Venusaur in the back, the Fini wouldn't be that much of an issue, especially if I had Xurkitree specifically. Okay, Glastrier hangs on. It's probably another Steel Spike or Quake. Yeah. This thing is going to be so hard to deal with. Sort of Life Steal on Blastoise is actually really interesting, though. Because the thing is, now I can bring in Articuno. I can actually set up Trick Room. But the thing is, it has a defense boost. It has a special defense boost. I guess the upside is at least we have screens. And my opponent's team is actually pretty weak once Trick Room... Or once Glastrier is knocked out, because Trick Room is actually pretty solid into it. But, really, really good play. I think if we had Xurkitree here, though, we'd actually be in pretty good shape. Because what I could do is just bring out Xurkitree and then swap Blastoise out into Marowak and then just Discharge. And then get some boosts pretty quickly from there. So, Xurkitree actually would have been the correct option to bring here, but it didn't feel amazing, especially if my opponent went with the Dusclops route. So, yeah. Plus 2 Spadef. Got 1 boost on everything. And they tie my Cannonade super, super well as well. I do think I need a Trick Room here, but it feels so bad. Like, do I Hydro Cannon? Ice Beam's not going to KO Glastrier. I guess the alternative is to just KO Glastrier right now with my own Freezing Glare. And Life Dew? Okay, I'm down for that. I just don't see how I deal enough damage to the Blastoise. Or sorry, to the, Oh, competitive would be so big here. Okay, unfortunately they didn't activate it, but that's okay. Okay, so we'll get the knockout here on the Glastrier. Never mind. That did not... Oh my goodness. I can't believe that survived. That's wild. Yeah, I think AV Glastrier, which we also went up against yesterday, is not exactly the easiest matchup for us, unfortunately. I just can't believe that couldn't KO. But, you know, it had a special defense boost, and it has Assault Vest, so I guess I shouldn't be shocked. If I wanted to guarantee the KO, doubling up and going for, like, Freezing Glare Ice Beam would have been better there. Well done, though. Well done. Okay, URshifu comes out. Yeah, it's pretty tough to win now because we don't have Trick Room up. I mean, I could obviously go for Trick Room here, and I don't know, hope for some reason they don't double up on Articuno. So, Trick Room and Ice Beam URshifu here. Doesn't make sense to Hydro Cannon because they should be sashed. They're going to Wicked Blow, yep, into Articuno. Still going to KO, I assume. But if we survive, maybe there's a chance. That's enough. Yeah. Very well played. Xurkitree was the key to this one, given the 3 Pokemon my opponents revealed so far, because it would have given us a better handle on dealing with Calm Mind Fini specifically. Glastrier also just, you know, was so bulky and took the damage really, really well, and unfortunately we didn't have like a great max option against it, right? And kind of struggled against Glastrier yesterday as well. I guess, like, I don't know, Marowak could be the answer, but you can see how well Fini and URshifu cover for Marowak, and as I expressed early on, I had hesitations with Marowak, at least as an early option, because of the Intimidate from Incineroar. So, Xurkitree definitely would have given us a big edge. I guess Articuno probably didn't need to come out here, but I was hoping to bait Incineroar out so that Articuno could take advantage and get some boosts off. The lead was really smart as well. Like, leading Glastrier immediately was really, really good on my opponent's end. So I could have, like, maybe covered for it with Articuno and Marowak as a lead, now that I'm thinking about it. And if I were to replay this game, yeah, I think that'd actually be the go-to. Even regardless of what mix-ups my opponent could go for, Articuno plus Marowak I feel like is kind of an underused lead that I haven't really opted for up until this point. So, yeah. This game, like, there are a lot of good lessons where I probably didn't identify my best lead, but my opponent also did a really good job boosting their Tapu Fini defensively via AV Glastrier. And AV Glastrier, or Glastrier in general, has been a tricky Pokemon to play against, right? Like, both of the losses we've had so far with this team have been from it. So, that being said, it's not like it's unwinnable by any means, right? Marowak's really good, but my opponent made some really good calls in that game where, like, they didn't they didn't bring out Dusclops, right? That alone was really smart because Dusclops actually would have been very helpful for us just because it doesn't do anything for them. And it kind of just stays on the field. They also didn't bring the Incineroar, right? So it's like I could have just led Marowak. Maybe they had it in the back, but I could have just led Marowak and put on a lot of pressure with it early on. So, yeah. A lot of good, like, smart decisions by my opponent in that last one. We got Cole for this one. Okay, I mean, I think it's Grim Blastoise as a lead. We obviously have to respect the Rillaboom, so that's scary, but it's where Marowak can come in handy. Articuno, Venusaur, Xurkitree. It's gonna be Sapsipper, Perish Song, Azumarill. So, I don't think it's Venus. That's between Xurkitree and Articuno. I like Xurkitree more here, I think. Especially with Assault Vest. But you can make an argument for Articuno as well because they have Incineroar that would activate the competitive, and they also have Rillaboom, and Articuno could resist Rillaboom's damage. So you could go either way, but I think Blastoise is a solid approach here. Yeah, I just didn't think... Fini standalone is fine. It's Fini getting defensive boosts from AV Glastrier as quickly as it did. That was the main problem for us. They're just going to go Azumarill plus Coalossal, which I'm fine with. Now, this is interesting because I think if you're my opponent, you could, there's no way you stay in with Coalossal, so you're either going to protect Coalossal, or you're going to hard switch it. For example, switching out into Rillaboom immediately. So I want to fake tears this thing, I think. If I'm my opponent here, the thing is, I think it's pretty easy for Coalossal to switch out and Azumarill to just click Perish Song immediately. But the thing is, if my opponent switches Cole out, yeah, they should go into Rillaboom, right? I guess they could just attack with Coalossal as well, but that seems so wild. I think I'm going to make the read. I am going to Fake Tears and Hailstorm at turn 1. There's the switch. I'm expecting Gothitelle or Rillaboom here. That's Rillaboom. Perfect. Okay. Obviously, that feels a little bit risky, but there's no way you stay in with the Coalossal. Like, you don't want to protect, right? Because you still take so much damage through the protect. So, yeah, this is really good. Because we accelerate the game very quickly, and we get rid of the biggest threat to Blastoise. So even if Azumarill clicks Perish Song, your remaining Pokemon are going to be Azumarill, Gothitelle, and Coalossal. If you bring in the Gothitelle, I can just set up screens and Cannonade as well. Just getting Cannonade up alone is valuable. Although I guess now you get Goth and you can go for Fake Out? I don't know. But it should be a knockout until a Rillaboom, so at least that's good. And the other thing is when you set up Perish Song but you're down Pokemon, it makes it trickier to, you know, make the proper switch outs to win the game. So, yeah, this turn 1 should give us a really major advantage, but it's still very far from over, obviously. That switch out just felt like the safest, right? Because you don't want to switch out Gothitelle in that position, and you kind of need Rillaboom as an answer into Blastoise in this matchup. Yeah, there's Perish Song. I think that play makes a lot of sense. So now, basically, it's a question of whether or not we can KO Gothitelle quickly enough. I don't think you bring out Coalossal here. I think you have to bring out the Goth. But we have Fake Tears. The main thing we want to make sure in this game is that we don't lose to 2 Perish Songs, basically. So, yeah. The interesting there is if I didn't go for Hailstorm there, my opponent would actually be in a really good spot. Because then you could just switch out into Goth and trap me in, right? Goth should come out here. And I think then what you want to do is Fake Out into Grimmsnarl. But the thing is, Azumarill's not really putting on any pressure onto us. So, what we can do is, well, maybe set up a light screen here. And just go for Cannonade onto Gothitelle. You can't avoid the Cannonade here. Okay, they actually just go for Protect, which I'm okay with, because this means it's a free... you know what's coming our way, I think? I think Ally Switch is going to come our way next turn. So it's a question of whether or not they have Ally Switch. Because if I'm nervous about Ally Switch, I can Fake Tears Cannonade the Azumarill slot. If we're to KO the Gothitelle, the game's just over, right? Because then I can just switch out. You don't even get your Perish off. Oh, it's Blind Sing. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to run and Sing on an Azumarill set like that, so that was the best time to have it. But I think that's going to be bad news for us. That's going to be very bad news for us. And I think this might come down to whether or not we can wake up quickly enough. Because my opponent's going to switch out Azumarill into Coalossal on the last turn of Perish Song, right? I guess they don't necessarily have to, but you would think so. Alright, 2 turns of Perish left. We have 1 turn of Max left. Nice play. Nice play. Alright, I'm going to Spirit Break. And obviously just commit my Max turn here. Or my first turn of Sleep. Yep, and there's the Ally Switch. It's just going to be Ally Switch and Sing into Grimmsnarl, I suppose. Yeah, so then the next turn becomes really interesting. It's like, do you stay in with the Azumarill? Also, do you hit the Sing here as well? Okay, they are going to miss this one. Sing is so high variance here, but my opponent obviously was not off to the best start, so they kind of have to rely on going for it, which makes a lot of sense, right? That's your best chance of winning right now. They got Ally Switch, Protect, Trick Room. Should be Gothitelle's moveset. Okay. Yeah, so the question here is, I think if you're my opponent, you have to gamble and hope I stay asleep again with Blastoise. And then you're going to switch the Azumarill out into Coalossal. The question is whether or not you switch out an Ally Switch. Or you just switch out and Protect. I would switch out an Ally Switch in this position. So I'm going to Spirit Break and Hydro Cannon the Goth slot. Because the idea is to get Coalossal in safely, right? So yeah, there's the Azumarill switch out. There's Coalossal. Ah, but they just go for Protect. Okay. And we wake up, unfortunately. That's why Ally Switch makes this so tough. That should win them the game. I needed to get that turn correctly. I also needed to wake up, obviously. Now, it's not necessarily over. Both of our mons faint, but I do get 2 free switch-ins right now. So it's still doable, but obviously that one's a little bit frustrating, because if Hydro Cannon went into Cole, that would have just been GG. But that's fine. Yeah, I would have Ally Switched specifically because the Azumarill switching out there, like, is entirely too obvious, right? So it feels like you kind of don't want to switch. It feels like you want to cover for me targeting the switch out option. And I think I would have Ally Switched in that position. But my opponent made the better call. The upside is like Coalossal's taken a fair amount and we still have this Marowak in the back, right? And I have Xurkitree, which can discharge. Just Ally Switch plus Sing makes this such a scary matchup, right? If the initial Sing on Blastoise missed, I think we would have been good. If I Hydro Cannoned into the Azumarill slot, we would have been good. But yeah, I think like the Azumarill switch out there is obvious, and so I was expecting my opponent to cover for the Hydro Cannon or Water type attack option into that slot. That's okay. Okay, so we're down to our last 2. The good thing here is it's not that easy for Temp to get a Perish Song off again, and we still have 5 turns of Light Screen to work with, right? So it's obviously pretty easy to discharge here. The question is what I want to do with Marowak. Do I want to just Boomerang into the Coalossal or target Gothitelle? They protected Goth last turn. I don't think they have better options with Goth right now other than Trick Room or Ally Switch, so I'm going to Boomerang into Goth, I think. If they Ally Switch and we KO the Coalossal, we should still win this match. But a game like this definitely feels frustrating, right? Because like it could have been over already at this point, especially that last turn. But that's why Ally Switch is such a good move, especially on a team like this. Because against Perish Song, or Perish Trap specifically, like you really need to read all the turns correctly. Not all the turns correctly, but you need to call like the key turns correctly, right? So this turn, it's a question of whether or not they opted to go for Ally Switch or Trick Room. Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping to see Ally Switch here, but we have outs even if they don't. The thing is, Coalossal is also at -1 special attack, and we have Light Screen up. So, like, damage-wise, it's not that scary. Unfortunately, they don't ally switch, okay? I guess the fear is if Boomerang doesn't KO, but I think it should. We actually crit the Coalossal, which is quite nice as well. Oh, they're faster and they use Hypnosis. Okay. And G-Max Vocalith. Yeah. If I wanted to stop the sleep, I would have needed to, you know, set up like Misty Terrain or something, or just Electric Terrain, but am I really maxing Xurkitree in this game? Probably not. Hail stops. Yeah, the main thing is now dealing with Vocalith damage, and it's also a question of whether or not Marowak wakes up quickly enough. Okay, they take a little bit more of Cannonade. It's the last chip. Discharge is just a nice play to go for, right? Because like it covers for all switch-ins. I don't think Rising Voltage KOs the Coalossal here anyway, and it gives us the potential to get a Paralysis. Paralysis would be huge here for us. Now, luckily, the Grassy Terrain is still up, so we're not taking that much damage, right? It's over now, but does this come down to whether or not we wake up with Marowak? It really might. We still have 4 turns of Light Screen, which is good. If you're my opponent, you're always going to just protect Gothitelle here. So I'm just going to Boomerang into Cole and Discharge. There's a lot of RNG in this matchup. Yeah, if they miss Hypnosis or Sing on Blastoise or the Marowak, I think we would have had this locked up. So now it's really scary because if Marowak just, you know, eats up a 2-turn through... I think double Discharge might KO Cole here. Oh, it should. So I think Xurkitree might still end up just sealing it up for us. And we even get a Para, which is nice. Okay, and Marowak wakes up. Nice. Thank goodness. Yeah, this like felt like a game in which we should have had a lot of... Like, after turn 1, it feels like it should just be a wrap, right? But unfortunately, it was not. Okay. But yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that my opponent didn't really have damage in a Xurkitree, and Xurkitree would boost itself up very quickly via Beast Boosts, right? So it can just keep spamming Discharge, which obviously is good for us. Now Azumarill comes out. So we had the numbers advantage here. My opponent needed a lot to go right for them, but they absolutely played to their outs, right? I don't regret reading the potential ally switch on Gothitelle, though, but they, you know, that's the thing about ally switch, it's so tricky. As soon as your opponent reveals in your opponent, you know your opponent has it, well, they know you know they have it, so then they can play a lot of mind games with you, but yeah. Like, I think if the initial Sing didn't hit Blastoise, we would have been very good off, fine, and if Marowak, like, fortunately for us, like, you know, the RNG swung back into our favor, where we got the Paralysis and the 1-turn Wake Up there with Marowak. But I'm thinking because Discharge looked like it was going to KO the Coalossal from that range anyway, I think Xurkitree would have just been able to win the game by spamming Discharge in this endgame, especially because they were at -1 special attack with Coalossal, and we had Light Screen up. So they're really not doing damage on a Xurkitree, and you'd have to basically, you know, spam Protects. But you don't beat the Xurkitree quickly enough, right? Like, the way my opponent played that game is completely reliant on winning off 2 Perish Songs. So as long as we deny them both Perish Songs, we're basically good. But that was definitely stressful. I guess they're hoping for crit Aqua Jet into Zerk. Nah, but I don't think that's enough. Yeah, we can just Discharge, and I actually am going to Flare Blitz here, I think, because I don't want to risk missing Boomerang. I think Discharge alone should get the knockout, but yeah. No, actually, it probably doesn't. Azumarill's pretty bulky here. Yeah, they're going for crit Aqua Jet, which is the correct play, but even with the crit, that was not going to KO. Yeah. And that's like the downside of bringing Gothitelle with Azumarill. There's no offense from either of these 2 Pokemon, so you basically have to fully utilize their defensive move sets. And granted, my opponent did that really well, right? Between the Sing, the Hypnosis, the Ally Switch. I also didn't know why I didn't mention Hypnosis as an option on Gothitelle. Most Gothitelles in the format are running Hypnosis right now. It's just such a good move, right? Because, like, Psychic Psyshock doesn't really add that much increased damage, and putting something to sleep gives you such a major advantage. It's just using moves like Sing and Hypnosis are scary because they're pretty high variance, right? The accuracies are really, really poor for standard moves in VGC, but it makes sense on a team like this because it's like if you hit, you can often just win the game. Fortunately for us, we were able to get some quick wake-ups with both the Blastoise and Marowak. Like, if we took 3 turns of sleep on both, things could have been a little bit scary. I guess on Blastoise it didn't end up mattering because it fainted immediately, and I didn't call that turn correctly, but it, you know, gave us more outs. And then with Xurkitree, it's a question of how much Discharge really would have done there in the end. But as soon as Rillaboom was eliminated, it put Xurkitree in a really, really good spot. So, yeah, that was definitely a really stressful one, but we end up coming out with the win. Okay, last one of the day. They have Spectrier, which is pretty scary. Mainly because I'm just thinking about the Dragapult from Game 1 yesterday. So I'm wondering if there's any funky things we can do with Articuno specifically. I like the idea of setting up screens with Grimmsnarl for sure in this one. There's a lot of potential setup. Nasty Plot Spectrier, Nasty Plot Moltres, Swords Dance Landorus, so all of those are things to watch out for. I kind of like the idea of playing towards Blastoise here. They do have dual Intimidate, which is interesting. Like, Articuno can take advantage of that, but, like, I don't know. Spectre Amoonguss is a pretty scary lead combo. Although, I guess we could just go Grim Venu if you lead Amoonguss, yeah. I just, like, haven't really went with any leads, like, cover for them leading Landorus or Incineroar. I just don't think they will. If I were my opponent, I would go Spectrier plus, like, Incin, maybe. Grim. I think Venusaur is better here. Because I pressure Sleep Powder, and there's a decent chance they end up activating our policy. I don't know. There's so many interesting options here. Grim Venu, Articuno, and Marowak. Alright, let's try this out. The thing is, Articuno could be so good here if they brought Landorus or Incineroar, but I don't know. I would play towards Spectre if I were my opponent, so I'm hoping that's what they do there, but we'll have to see. Yeah. The thing is, I've never led Articuno plus Marowak with this team, and I think that could be a really solid lead. But they go Spectre and Moltres. Okay, yeah, nice. So, good to not see the Intimidators out here, otherwise I'd feel kind of bad. But I think this indicates that it's probably support Spectre with Snarl. Which is scary. So it's pretty easy to set up an early screens here, but then, like, where do we go from there? Something like Nasty Plot Snarl turn 1 makes sense, or you just max Moltres and Airstream and Snarl. Okay, I actually think I'm just going to Fake Tier Spectrier, Max, and Vine Lash into it. I want Spectrier gone, I think. Yeah. Problem is that Moltres then becomes a really big offensive threat, especially if it's Nasty Plotting here. They're not maxing. Or actually, I mean, they could just be slower as well. But actually, no, there's no way. The Venusaur is so slow here that, yeah. I'm expecting Snarl Nasty Plot turn 1. Or Taunt, actually. That would cover for a potential Sleep Powder, which actually would make a lot of sense. I just wanted to guarantee the KO with Spectre, even if we got hit by Snarl. Yeah, they did Snarl. Okay. It's a little bit frustrating because I could have gotten a major advantage if they did not go for... If I just went for Sleep Powder, but I didn't want to risk a miss. Oh, that's actually really interesting. They Fiery Rat. Okay. Well, because they're not Nasty Plotting, I'll gladly take this turn. Because we should KO Spectre. I would hope so. Yeah, perfect. And then now you eat up Vine Lash with both of the... with both Moltres and Spectre. And Moltres eating up Vine Lash, even like any damage on a Moltres before it maxes is so critical. So I'm pretty content about that. Because now the thing is I can Light Screen and just keep going with Venusaur, right? And Moltres is now not in a position where you can safely Nasty Plot. I also like don't necessarily have to Light Screen, right? Like Light Screen just helps if Moltres maxes, because then we can survive Airstream, activates our policy. So let's see what they bring out. That is going to be Amoonguss. Okay, that's fine with me. Although I think if Amoonguss is coming out, what I would do with if I were my opponent would be to... Would you Protect? Protect Spore? I can't get around Spore, right? So, I think it's fine to just Light Screen in this position. And... Light Screen and do what? Don't want our Moltres Nasty Plotting. You know what? I don't think we Light Screen. I actually think we Spirit Break. Yeah. And Ooze. Because they max Moltres. That's fine. The thing about this position is I think my opponent's comeback potential mainly comes from if they were to go for... guess the thing is now I'm nervous about activating the Policy Moltres. The thing is, like, I think their main comeback potential comes from Nasty Plotting, but I guess since I Spirit Breaked, I might activate Policy. What I was nervous about was Amoonguss Sporing and Moltres going for a Nasty Plot. They're actually just going to Airstream. That means they're Speedy Amoonguss, I think. So Venusaur does manage to hang on, which is really, really good. And that's going to activate our Weakness Policy as well. But I think Amoonguss is going to be fast here. And I missed out on the opportunity to set up a light screen there. Wait, maybe they're not fast if we're still getting Ooze off. It's not a lot of damage at all. That's not great. Don't love that. Not getting a light screen up here is also going to be an issue. Okay, so it is actually slow Amoonguss still. That's actually really good damage from Spirit Break, but that's just going to activate Berserk and Policy, right? Yeah, which I don't love. Don't love that. Yeah, I'm surprised Ooze did so little, unfortunately. I was hoping for just at least a little bit more damage output there. If I went Light Screen, we'd still probably faint to another Airstream. But the thing is, I just gave it 2 special attack boosts. That's pretty scary. I think 2 turns of Vine Lash KOs it. It's close. Max Guard on Venu this turn feels really obvious. I also have no idea how fast the Amoonguss is. Things at +2 and I did not get a light screen up. I think we played safe in Max Guard Venu here. I don't know. Airstream and then, like, I don't know the attack on Amoonguss, I guess is the tricky thing here. I'm actually going to Ooze here. I don't know. I think they're going to Airstream the Grim in this position. Okay, they switch out Amoonguss into Landorus. That makes sense. It's frustrating because Articuno could have potentially gotten, taken advantage of that. But in the end, it's not going to. So let's see if they targeted the Venu slot. They should, especially if you're switching in Landorus in that position. Yeah, okay, well done. The good thing is we get some more Vine Lash damage off here, and you brought out your Intimidator. And I think if we get a Wake Up here with Grimmsnarl quickly enough, we'll win. I just don't know if Vine Lash is a 2-hit KO onto Moltres, given the Moltres range right now. It's really close. Oh, it is so close. I want to say it is, but I might hang on with just like 1 HP. Which would be so bad for us, obviously. Now, we have Colbur Berry on Articuno. So do I bring out Marowak? If I bring out Marowak, obviously you can eat Q and just go for an attack. With Colbur, I think I'm going to bring out Articuno. Mainly because of the Colbur. I don't know, with Marowak I could have protected though, right? That's the main thing. Like, I want to go for a light screen here. I just don't know if Moltres is in the range of fainting. That's my problem. Like, I honestly want a light screen and recover here. With the idea of hoping to survive. So let's see if Grimmsnarl can wake up. Man, if I max guarded Venu last turn, we'd also be in a really good position, I think. But thought it was reasonable to think they would Airstream the Grimmsnarl there. Because the max guard on Venu feels so obvious. Grim does wake up, which is really nice. But I think we're getting hit by Darkness Rock Slide anyway. So I actually don't know if it ends up making a difference. We'll see. And I ended up going for Recover, hoping that basically... Because this activates competitive, right? I think Rock Slide KOs anyway, unfortunately, so it wasn't worth it. Unless they didn't Rock Slide and they went like EQ for some reason, but I don't think that's what's happening here. Maybe Rock Slide doesn't KO, though. Or maybe they miss. Oh, they did Earthquake! Okay, so Articuno's looking really solid right now. That's Life Orb, I think? Oh, no. Wait, do we have a defense drop? How did that do that much? That was a lot of damage. Okay. Does this KO Moltres? Okay, it does. That's what I thought, but I was not 100% confident on that. Now we should win the game because they just activated Articuno's competitive. But this was such a close game. We don't have any defense drops, do we? That's gotta be Choice Band Landorus, right? But why would you lock yourself in a Bandit EQ? Either way, I'm gonna click Reflect here. Yeah, we don't have any defense drops. That really felt like Choice Band to me. Maybe my read on it is wrong, but I don't know. I'm going to Reflect and Freezing Glare into Landorus here. Articuno's been really good in the games we've brought it out in. Okay, they don't protect. I mean, if Landorus faints, we win the game. They need to flinch here. Okay. Nice, no flinch. Good job, Articuno. Never mind, Earthquake just did a lot. I don't know why. I thought Grim would take that better. Weird assumption for me to make. Yeah, they Spore. That was the right play, though. You basically need to hope for a flinch and then hope that you can get a couple turns of sleep. But today's been scary, mainly because we've had to play around sleep so much, and I didn't do a great job preventing it. But I liked our odds in both of the last two games, so we'll take it. Either way, you can just Spirit Break here. That breaks Sash, and then as soon as Articuno wakes up, we win the game. Amoonguss obviously isn't going to carry in terms of offense right now, so yeah. This was really, really close. Like, the main thing was that we were able to have a pretty good turn one, and then Moltres, if Moltres nasty plotted turn one, I think this would have been a really tough game to win, honestly. Yeah. So it's really good that they didn't nasty plot, they just went for Fiery Wrath instead. And I guess the reason they didn't plot is because they wanted to cover for Sleep Powder, which is smart. I think that's the correct play for them to make. Long Landorus. Yeah, I don't know why I was just so surprised by Earthquake's damage output. It was min speed Amoonguss with leftovers. So this was a big deal as well, because if Amoonguss was speedier, a lot of people like max speed Amoonguss right now, you could max Airstream and then Spore into the Grimmsnarl, and then that could have been bad. But the thing is that Grimmsnarl got a Spirit Break off before Amoonguss got a Spore off, and we needed that damage output. Spirit Break's just such good damage into Moltres, and that put Moltres in KO range. So that was really close, because it basically was like a roll, I think, on whether or not Moltres would have survived, based off the Spirit Break and the Ooze damage. But fortunately, that plus the Vine Lash added up enough to let Moltres faint, and this was by far the biggest threat on my opponent's team. Xurkitree could have been a decent brain, but it doesn't feel amazing when your opponent has Amoonguss, Landorus, and Snarl Spectrier. So, yeah. Either way, definitely a really fun set of games, and this team is really fun, so I encourage you to try it out. It has a lot of unique Pokemon. Jamie Boyt's definitely one of the most creative, like, high-level team builders in the game. And yeah, he went 6-3 with this in the Players' Cup 4 online qualifiers, and he finished in the top 32 with it. So check him out, linked in the description below. And thanks to him once again for the team. Thanks to you all, as always, for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.